Hi, and welcome to the support micro training on contacts and visits. My name is Lauren Kramer. I'm the manager of quality assurance and compliance at AFS-USA, and I'm excited to share with you today a quick overview of contacts and visits, what they are, how to enter them, and some best practices to help you be as compliant as possible when you are doing contacts and visits. So let's get started with a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. We're just going to go over briefly what the actual requirements are and what liaisons actually have to do when it comes to contacts and visits. We're going to talk about why they're so important. There might be some reasons, obvious reasons that come to mind, like compliance, but maybe some that don't. How to enter a contact and visit. We'll quickly look at the contact and visit widget in my AFS. And then finally, some best practices for both liaisons and teams as a whole to do contacts and visits. So what are the actual requirements? The first, the student has to have an in-person contact within the calendar month of their arrival. So if they arrive July 27th, they have to be seen in person by July 31st. Monthly contact either in person or over the phone with both the student and the host family. And again, that's for every calendar month that the student is on program. So if they depart program June 1st, even though they're only here one day in June, that means they need to have a monthly contact for June on June 1st. An in-home visit within 60 days of arrival or 30 days, and then every 30 days after that the student is in the home. So 60 days for permanent families, 30 days, and then every 30 days after that for welcome and temporary families. And of course, that is in the home. And then finally, in-person contact with the host family once in the fall semester before December 31st, and once in the spring semester before the day the student departs program. That does not have to be in the home, but it does have to be in person. So why are contacts and visits so important? It's not just compliance. Fulfilling contacts and visits makes for a better hosting experience for everybody involved: student, host family, volunteers, area teams, AFS as a whole. We do monthly student surveys with students, our students every year, and many write that they're disappointed when they don't hear from their liaison, that they wanted to have that relationship, that they see other students who got close with their liaison and were disappointed that they didn't have that. So this is something that students really are looking for. So doing contacts and visits regularly and early builds that student liaison relationship and the host family liaison relationship. And that relationship helps to catch any red flags or potential problems early on. If they know you and they're comfortable with you, they're going to be okay going to you as soon as something comes up. And that in turn reduces moves and serious support issues, which obviously is always a goal. Compliance is still key, though. We are audited by the Department of State every 2 years, and the upcoming 2021-2022 school year is an audit year. So we're gearing up for that. And ramifications of failing that audit could be numerous different things. It could be having to write up a corrective action plan, being sanctioned, losing having a reduction in the number of visas we can allot, or even losing our status as a J1 visa sponsor altogether. So there's a variety of reasons why it's so important that we're doing contacts compliantly. So let's look quickly at how to actually enter a contact or visit. And I'm going to navigate here to my AFS and actually show you just really quickly how to enter something. So Amelie from Italy, obviously the first thing we're going to do is put in when the contact happened. So let's say this contact occurred on July 28th, 2 days ago. My name will auto-fill in there, as will yours. You're going to indicate who was contacted. Did you speak just to the participant or also to the host family? And the great thing about this form is that whatever you answer here, it's a smart form that will auto-populate with the relevant section. So who was contacted? What type of contact? Was this the in-home visit? A recent change we made, which I think is really helpful, is that if you've already done the in-home in-home visit. Let's say the student arrived August 11th and you did an in-home visit really early, August 25th, and then you saw the family again in September in their home, but you don't want to have to fill out that whole section again. You don't have to. You can indicate this visit was in person, but it was not in the home. So then the form is not going to give you that whole and home environment section. So again, it's a smart form and it's only going to give you what you need to answer. So if I spoke to the participant and the host family, and I'm going to indicate which host family it was, um, in person, not in the home. I already did the in-home visit. So I'm going to say in this case, let's say it was in the home. Um, and it will give you that reminder. If this was a 3060 visit, please go back and change the contact type. Um, so it's going to give me the participant section, the host family section, and that's it. Because again, I indicated that this was in the home, but I already did the 3060 in-home visit, so I don't need to fill out that whole home environment section again. If this is your first in-home visit and it is the 3060 visit, then absolutely select 3060 in-home visit, and then it will give you the home environment section and you will fill out all those relevant questions. You want to make sure if it was a 3060 visit that you indicate that, otherwise the system is not going to count that it was done. But it's nice because then you don't have to fill that out again if you visit the family again in the home. It's just the form is smart enough to know, as long as you're indicating correctly the nature of the visit, what it needs to ask you. And then obviously you would just fill in all these questions. I'm not going to do that here because I didn't actually do a contact with the student. And then just submit. So what are some best practices for improving your team's compliance performance when it comes to contacts and visits? And there are numerous ways that you can do this. The most important, I think, off the bat, before kids even get here, is have a team plan. Um, before kids arrive, work with your team, with your liaisons, with your volunteer leadership, with your field specialist, your support specialist with compliance, whoever it is. Team organization matters. How is your team going to handle contacts and visits? Is that a compliance coordinator who's going to be following up on everything? If not a compliance coordinator, who? If contacts aren't being done, who's going to be checking up on that? If possible, have some kind of make it something kind of fun. Have a fun competition or an incentive. Have a plan for having positive reinforcement. For those liaisons who are doing their contacts every month, how are you going to, highlight them and give that positive feedback? And every team does these things differently. How are you going to set expectations for liaisons who are not fulfilling requirements? If somebody's not doing it, what's the accountability there? And again, teams do this differently. We've spoken to teams who some have liaison pods where maybe 3 or 4 liaisons are in a pod with one associate support coordinator. Some teams have liaisons pair up in a buddy system to have each other's backs. Some do, really big formal, like competitions or have cool incentives. Like if you do all your contacts and visits every month on time before the end of the month, you get a gift card. So figure out what works best for your team. The key point is that this should be happening before students arrive, so you guys are going into the year strong. Identify your 3060 visitors as early as possible. As soon as a placement is made, even if it's months before the student's arriving, know who's going to do the in-home visit. If it can't be the liaison because they were also the in-home visitor, then who is going to do this? Don't wait until the deadline. Don't wait until a few days before to figure this out, because maybe you realize, oh, you can't do it because you did the interview. So as we said with the first point, just have a plan, know who those 3060 visitors are going to be as early as possible. Enter the contact ASAP. as soon as you do it in a timely fashion, if at all possible, that day. So many contacts are actually done, but then the liaison never gets around to inputting it, which really means it was never done. On an audit, we can't tell the Department of State, no, we know for sure it happened. It just didn't get recorded. And, life happens. We're all busy. We get distracted by other things. So as soon as you're done with that contact that day, just go ahead and enter it. And remember the My AFS website and widget, all of that is mobile friendly, so you can do it right on your phone or your iPad. Know if and when staff are notified. Staff do not read all contacts. We would love to, but we can't, because if we read every single contact for every single kid on program, that would mean there were like 40 some thousand contacts we'd have to read. So we absolutely encourage that compliance or liaison or support coordinators are reading them, but know when staff is notified of something. They get notified if it's a poor rating or very poor, for example, or if questions are answered a certain way. So be sure that if there is anything urgent that needs attention right away, you're reporting it to support, the duty officer, whoever. If you have a question about something, don't just assume you can put it in the contact and somebody will get back to you. And finally, have a backup and understand the rules for who can do a contact. Something a lot of volunteers don't realize is that it doesn't have to be a liaison who does a contact or someone with the liaison training. Anyone with the DOS certification and HSA trainings, which is any volunteer in a hosting or support role, can conduct a contact. So if you know it's getting towards the end of the month and you know you're not going to be able to do it, maybe you're going away for the weekend or you're just super busy, identify who else can do it, and know that it doesn't necessarily have to be a liaison. Of course, we want our liaisons to be doing contacts and building up that relationship, providing the highest level of support. But we know, again, sometimes life happens. So if you can't do it, absolutely just find somebody else who has those certification and trainings and they can fill in for you for that month. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has given you some ideas maybe for your team for how you guys can tackle contacts and visits, and helped explain why it's so important, why it's not just about compliance, although of course compliance is always important. We understand, contacts and visits can be challenging sometimes when there's a lot of requirements and things you have to fulfill. But at the end of the day, it really is just about building that relationship with your student and your host family and providing a foundation for everyone to have a great experience. And of course, participant support staff, compliance staff, we are here to support you. So always feel free to contact us with any questions or concerns or feedback or ideas you have. And thank you for listening.